saw raindrops on my window. Joy is like the rain. Laughter runs across my pane, slips away and comes again. Joy is like the rain. I saw clouds upon a mountain. Joy is like a cloud. Sometimes silver, sometimes gray, always sun not far away. Joy is like a cloud. I saw Christ in wind and thunder. Joy is tried by storm. Christ asleep within my boat, whipped by wind yet still afloat. Joy is tried by storm. I saw raindrops on the river. Joy is like the rain. Bit by bit the river grows, till all at once it overflows. Joy is like the rain.
Happy International Women's Day to our medical mission sisters and Philadelphia Protestant home families, and to women everywhere, and to men who know that women's rights are human rights and human rights are women's rights. We are Marge and Tom Sexton, associates of the Medical Mission Sisters community and independent living residents here at PPH. This presentation is our love letter to the Medical Mission Sisters and associates.
Medical Mission Sisters is an international Catholic society of approximately 550 sisters and associates who are living and working in Asia, Africa, Europe, North and South America, and here at PPH.
Dr. Anna Dangle was working in North India in the early 1920s. She witnessed the deaths of countless Muslim women and babies during childbirth because their culture prohibited them from receiving certain aspects of medical care from men. She believed the best way to address the need was to found a society of medically trained women. And pictured here is Mother Dangle on the left, and on the right, she's in Pakistan with 2 children in the early 1930s.
Dr. Anna Dangle founded the Medical Mission Sisters, MMS, in Washington, D.C. in 1925. The society was invited by Cardinal Doherty to move to Philadelphia in 1939. The international headquarters is now in London, England.
Early missions were in northern India, now Pakistan. The photo on the right shows novices giving departing sisters a spirited send-off to the missions. Sisters who came from all over the United States enjoyed playing and exercising together. Although they were farming and living off the land, it was not all work. Here's an interesting cartoon that was drawn by one of those young missionaries, Jean Lorenz. It showed the spirit and determination. There they are on a raft. She's standing on a raft and a sister is kneeling next to her, suitcases and food, and the dangers of the life going across the ocean with the big SOS. But it says, it's do or die. They'll row a raft, swim, or stow away, but they will get to the missions in 1952.
From the beginning, medical mission sisters were pioneers. Canon law is Catholic Church law that can only be changed by the Pope. It took 16 years of Mother Dengle's and others' persistence to get canon law changed so women trained as doctors and nurses could also be vowed sisters. If there was no hospital where MMS was called to, they built one. When sisters working in the hospitals noticed that patients were showing up with preventable illnesses, they went into the villages to discover and mitigate the source of the problem.
To the left of the photo is a quote from Anna Dangle. In our society, the sisters have been taught from the beginning to appreciate the good, the noble, and beautiful in the people among whom they work. And the picture on the right shows some of the first young women in Patna, India to begin training in the nursing school built by MMS. Our sisters built wells and opened clinics. They integrated indigenous healing into their Western clinical skills, which evolved into ministry as the needs demanded. It was understood from the beginning that there is no separating healing from issues of justice for the poor and marginalized.
With World War II limiting travel, MMS began opening missions in the United States. In 1944, MMS founded the Catholic Maternity Institute in Santa Fe, New Mexico. It was the first school of nurse midwifery in the U.S., and it is where several of our sisters here at PPH trained as nurse midwives. Also, in 1944, sisters took over managing the Clinic for Colored People, as it was then called, in Atlanta, Georgia, leading to the eventual building of the Holy Family Hospital in 1964. In the height of the civil rights movement, the hospital had a written policy that, quote, no patient is assigned to a room on the basis of race, creed, or color, but solely on the basis of medical need.
The picture shows the Atlanta Clinic for Colored People at the right, 1944. And then the picture in the lower left shows Sister Jane Fell, nurse midwife in Bennettsville, South Carolina. Did you know there are 16 medical mission sisters and associates living at PPH? The photo on the left shows Sister Mary Ann Trigoni with Associate Marge Sexton, me, and on the right shows Associate Dara Degnan. The photo at the top is our sisters Joan Foley and Jane Fell, and on the bottom right are Associates Jane Blewett and Dara Degnan. On the left are Associates Marge and Tom Sexton, and on the right, Sisters Joan Marie Dowd and Joan Foley. This picture shows Sister Gertrude Provost being comforted by canine visitor Molly in Pathways. Sister Gertrude died January of 2020. I happen to be very attached to her. And there's a quote here from the MMS Constitution. We are called to be a healing presence, to bring about a world where all people and the whole of creation live in harmony and no one is in want. And now we invite you to learn more about the Medical Mission Sisters and Associates living here at PPH. The dunes and beaches of Atlantic City were the childhood playgrounds of Sister Jane Coyle. She does not recall a specific decision to become a nun, but knew she was being drawn by God. Two different spiritual advisors, unknown to one another, suggested she inquire into the Medical Mission Sisters, and she entered in 1946 at age 24. Sister Jane was in mission in England, the Philippines, and in D.C. at St. Vincent's Hospital. In 1980, she was assigned to Corpus Christi Parish in Baltimore, Maryland. She would often take her place beside the priest and deacon during Mass, not in liturgical garb or a nun's habit, but in a woman's professional suit for the Eucharistic prayer. Sister Jane says, "I just wanted to be there as a woman. I wanted other women to see that women have a place in this church." In 1987, she was appointed by the bishop as Director of Pastoral Ministries, becoming the first nun to administer a parish in the Baltimore Archdiocese and one of the first non-priests to administer an urban Catholic parish in the United States. So there she is, standing behind the altar as Director of Pastoral Ministries, and she also served as pastor after the priest left the parish.
Sister Jane is curious by nature and an avid reader of many genres. She has studied flowers and birds. She loves bonsai trees. Her latest spiritual reading is a book called The Great Spiritual Migration: How the World's Largest Religion is Seeking a Better Way to be Christian. I might add that that very book is on my nightstand, as Sister Jane likes to share her spiritual reading. She is funny and laughs easily. Jane arrived at PPH in December, and except for trips down the Pathways Hall for a bath, she has never been outside of her room. She longs for the day when she can go outdoors again and feel the sun on her face and the breeze in her hair. She believes that her purpose here is unfolding and trusts God to direct her path.
The picture on the left shows Jane looking lovely in her pink blouse, and on the right, she is with Sister Miriam Therese Winter, prolific composer of Medical Mission Sisters' sacred music. The music that you hear during this presentation was all composed by Miriam Therese Winter. Perhaps influenced by the stories of Maryknoll sisters and priests, Sister Jeanette McDermott first heard God's call to work as a foreign missionary at age 13 on the family farm in Iowa. Her father discouraged that dream, so in the years that followed, she earned an RN and even fell in love with the wonderful young man. However, her missionary vocation could not be denied. Never having been away from home or family before, she left Iowa, crying all the way to Chicago before finally arriving in Philadelphia to become a medical mission sister. The picture shows Sister Jeanette with her two proud parents, and on the left and then on the right, there she is as a young sister.
Sister Jeanette was sent to India, where she served for 20 years as a nurse midwife and hospital administrator. She crisscrossed India by train many times, traveling third class with the Dalits, the lowest caste people who taught her the Hindi language. She learned their customs, and they were ever curious about this woman in white who came there to work in this land where women had no agency of their own, only through their husbands or fathers. The people practiced the religion of animism, the belief that everything possesses a soul and a spirit. Sister Jeanette embraced aspects of those beliefs and incorporated them into her own Catholic spirituality.
The picture shows Sister Jeanette teaching nursing students in New Delhi. After Sister Jeanette returned from India, her father wrote her a letter that said, "To say that we are proud of you would be putting it mildly, an affirmation that touches her heart to this day." The picture shows her working in Lemon Grove, California as a hospice chaplain before she returned here to Philadelphia. You can see how she provided loving care.
Sister Jeanette believes she was born for nursing and born for contemplation. Here at PPH, she leads the prayerful life of a mystic and writes sacred poetry. And I have to say that I am so honored that Sister shares her poetry with me on a regular basis. And she is indeed a fine writer and a poet.
The picture shows Sister Jeanette outside on one of her brisk walks around the PPH campus, which she so loves to do, so watch for her. Sister Therese Dion from Quebec, Canada, joined MMS after earning her RN. She worked at St. Vincent's Hospital for Women and Children in Philadelphia for 1 year before she was assigned to Holy Family Hospital in Mandar, India. She describes that departure for India this way. We had crates packed with supplies already, but we couldn't ship them. Then one evening, Mother Dangle said, "Find as many portable suitcases as you can, empty the crates to fill as many suitcases as you can. We're going tomorrow morning to New York and then to Bombay. Go ahead and call your family." That was it. And the picture at the top shows Sister Therese Dion. The picture was taken in Vietnam. She's standing in the middle with Mother Dangle on the far right.
After 1 year, Sister Therese moved from India to Vietnam, helped to open the hospital, and then worked as a staff nurse, supervisor of the obstetrics ward, and taught clinics until 1975. She moved on to Pakistan, where she worked as a nurse, midwife, and supervisor until her return to the U.S. in 2002, a 27-year service.
The picture shows Sister Therese working in Vietnam as a young staff nurse. There's just something about this picture that I find very tender and very sweet. In a conversation several years ago, when asked what she would tell younger sisters coming up in the society, Sister Therese replied, "You will receive more than you can give. I have felt that all along. I always received more than I could give. If they were afraid of anything, I would tell them, 'Courage, my dear. You will get more than you can give in many ways, in many ways.'" And the picture shows Sister Therese preparing the altar for Mass at the chapel in Fox Chase.
Jane Blewett grew up in Wisconsin and entered the Medical Mission Sisters in 1947. After earning a degree as a medical records librarian, she went to Pakistan, where MMS had established Holy Family Hospital in Rawalpindi. Jane transformed the primitive ledger system of keeping patient records to an updated system that made research and cross-referencing possible. She has a special memory of helping an old woman who was being discharged after critical surgery. She turned to Jane and, speaking in her native language of Urdu, said, "God is above, and you sisters are here below in his place." At that moment, Jane realized that even though the Medical Mission Sisters never preach or evangelize, this woman recognized God's presence in her work.
I love this picture of Jane as a young sister tending to these two children, playing with one and holding a flower for the other one. Jane left the order in 1970 and married Lou Nesnick in 1974. She became one of the first Medical Mission Sisters associates in the early 80s. Lou also joined as an associate. Jane and Lou were committed to environmental activism. They were great friends, students, and co-dreamers of Thomas Berry, one of the 20th century's most profound and enlightened philosophers and thinkers, especially regarding eco-theology. Jane's beloved Lou died in 2011. Jane has spent many decades working to raise the consciousness within herself and others of our sacred evolutionary story and of planet Earth's need for healing for the well-being of the whole community of life. The picture shows Jane on the left holding a globe standing in the center of the mandala on the Medical Mission Sisters campus on Pine Road. And on the right, she is between two friends, and she's in front of the White House at a protest for social justice for the ecology.
Jane lives the charism of healing presence in her day-to-day life here at PPH. She is a member of the Hot Topics discussion group and is especially interested in issues regarding environmental justice. By the way, one of the voices you hear in the Medical Mission Sisters recordings we play today is Jane Blewett's.
The picture shows her one of her volunteer jobs working there in the Tabor market. Born in Chicago in 1930, Sister Janet Gottschalk was a playful high school student who once tried to make a rum-flavored lifesaver explode in chemistry class. She was so inspired by reading about Dr. Agnes McLaren, the personal benefactor of Mother Anna Dangle, that she decided to become a member of Medical Mission Sisters. Sister Janet eventually became the community's foremost scholar on Agnes McLaren, who was instrumental in the founding of MMS. Sister Janet wrote an Agnes McLaren biography called She Stepped Out of Her Class. Janet was one of the early generations of MMS in Fox Chase when the sisters grew their own food, raised livestock, and sewed their own clothing. A dear friend and editor of the respected Catholic magazine Sojourners described Sister Janet as one of the most amazing women I have ever met. There's a picture of Sister Janet, and she was a powerful and persuasive human rights activist.
A human rights activist, Sister Janet worked for peace, justice, and the rights of women worldwide. She served as a nurse in Venezuela in the 60s and 70s, where the American oil industry exploited workers, causing untold misery. I remember when I first used to visit Sister Janet's room, she had a heroes wall, and there was a wall containing pictures of many activists, and so it just served as a reminder of who she wanted to be. A vibrant and vivacious person, she has a PhD and is an esteemed writer. She wrote a book about the Medical Mission Sisters called Drawn by God. She helped establish health clinics in Africa and worked as a public health nurse and taught and mentored countless women in that field.
The picture shows Sister Janet. She's the one in the right, in red. They're celebrating the publishing of her book called Drawn by God. And on her left is Sister Rose Kirschbaumer. Sister Janet spoke truth to power. In the year 2000, she was so impacted by the poverty of the African continent, she was arrested in the U.S. Capitol Rotunda while kneeling in prayer for African debt relief. In the 2000s, she was visiting professor of nursing at Temple, Texas A&M. She presented at UN World Conferences representing MMS for many years. In June of 2018, upon learning about the U.S. government policy of family separations at the southern border, Sister Janet became so distraught, she inspired the formation of the PPH Hot Topics discussion group, which is active and open to all independent living residents. Sister Janet currently resides in Pathways. The picture shows her on the left addressing Venezuelan President Hugo Chavez. And on the right, She was kneeling in the Capitol Rotunda. She's the second to the left. She was arrested that day for praying in the Capitol Rotunda, which seems so ironic.
Mother Earth, Sister Sea, giving birth energy, reaching out, touching me lovingly. Formed from Earth's own flesh and bone, one with silt and sand and stone. Mother Earth, Sister Sea, giving birth energy, reaching out, touching me lovingly. From the primal womb we are called to kinship with the stars. Mother Earth, Sister Sea, giving birth energy, reaching out, touching me lovingly. With the rain weeping out tears, to the winds we toss the years. Mother Earth, Sister Sea, giving birth energy, reaching out, touching me lovingly. As our lives are flowering, all the cosmic voices sing. Mother Earth, Sister Sea, giving birth energy, reaching out, touching me lovingly. Lest we got her moment's touch, gives us Earth, who gives so much. Mother Earth, Sister Sea, giving birth energy, reaching out, touching me lovingly.
In 1962, 10 MMSs left for Uganda in East Africa, where medical missions had not worked before. They arrived 3 weeks before independence. Amazingly, 3 of those original 10 live at PPH today. Sister Joan Dowd, pictured here far left, associate, then Sister Dara Degnan, is the tall woman, 6th from the left, and Sister Rose Kirschbaumer is to the far right. Mother Anna Dengel is in the center.
Sister Rose Kirschbaumer was born in Hazleton, Pennsylvania in 1928. She was a nurse, eventually obtaining a master's degree in education and a PhD from Columbia University. She served as a nurse midwife, administrator, directress of nursing, and educator in Ghana, and as a nurse educator for the World Health Organization in Kenya and Malawi. She was also a nurse midwife educator consultant for many organizations, including the Peace Corps and the Rockefeller Foundation. In 1990, after her return to the United States, Rose continued her international work as a member of the University of Pennsylvania School of Nursing World Health Organization Collaborating Center for Nursing and Midwifery. She shared this: "My experience of our charism of healing presence is part of my daily life, be that courtesy, kindness shown to any person I encounter in my daily life, work, shopping, etc. It certainly includes respect for the person regarding a social standing and, when possible, without pretense, helping each person recognize their own worth as a person and their value to society as a whole. Sister Rose is living in chapters." And here's a picture of her with Anna Dangle and a child at the top, and then a later picture of Sister Rose.
In 1956, Dara Degnan, who had been born in Ohio, was feeling a call to a deeper spiritual life of silence, prayer, and liturgy when she learned of the Medical Mission Sisters and their service to foreign missions. Dara joined MMS along with other companions committed to the work of healing. Dara said, quote, "It was an exciting and adventurous time. We were young and we knew our work was important." Before being sent to Africa, Dara was trained in parasitology and medical technology. During the 60s, she worked at Vakira Hospital, which became the MMS Holy Family Hospital, training local students in very small groups. In the early 70s, she taught in Uganda's program at Mulogo Hospital, preparing third-year laboratory students for their certificate-level practical and written exams. Dara has also received her master's degree in divinity from the Southeastern Baptist Theological Seminary in Wake Forest, North Carolina.
In 1975, Dara, along with 5 other missionaries, climbed the Ruwenzori Mountains, which were visible from Vakira Hospital. They began their trek at 5,000 feet and reached the snow line at 15,000 feet. That is a memory deeply etched in Dara's mind for its beauty and challenge. And here she is pictured in Uganda having tea with other workers.
Dara became an associate member in 1984 and practices contemplative prayer and stays connected to her spiritual roots. She was the director of the Medical Mission Sisters on Campus Peace Hermitages in Fox Chase. Dara is hospice certified. She continues to live a deeply spiritual life and assists at Thursday Mass whenever possible. PPH offers endless opportunities to live the MMS charism of healing presence, where Dara wishes to serve our PPH community as a modern-day Samaritan, and she does so faithfully and graciously.
Dara is pictured here on the left with her drum practicing for Sunday liturgy. And then on the right, she is pictured at lunch with Sister Joan Marie Dowd, who we will meet next. A local Philly girl and West Catholic High School for Girls graduate, Sister Joan Marie Dowd was born on July 9th, 1936. When she was a high school sophomore, her teacher showed the girls a movie called Where Women Conquer, describing a new community called Medical Mission Sisters. The teacher told them that the Medical Mission Sisters were in Northeast Philadelphia and that they were hosting an open house the following Sunday. Joan Marie and some of her friends attended. According to Sister Joan Marie, on the way home at age 15, above the clickety-clack noise of the Frankfurt L, I clearly heard God say, "That is where you belong." At age 18, she entered the Medical Mission Sisters. The pictures at the top show her, I love that one of her cuddling two babies, and the one on the right just sitting there enjoying some of the local people.
Sister Joan Marie served in both hospital and village settings in Uganda for 44 years. She worked as a nurse, midwife, instructor, and often had the duties of a physician. She learned 3 native tribal languages and deeply loved the people of Uganda. She came to know the families, their joys and sorrows. She understood and respected their traditional tribal religious practices. She says that leaving them to return to the U.S. was so painful it felt like a death. Repatriating to the U.S. was difficult, and the contrast in cultures overwhelming. Observing U.S. culture, such as 20 choices of bread in a supermarket, taken for granted here in our country, when compared to the scarcity of bread in Uganda, felt disoriented and unsettling.
Sister Joan Marie came to PPH in June of 2020. She loves to knit and read. She follows the news closely and enjoys reading biographies and mysteries. She laughs easily and looks forward to spring with the hope of going outside for sunshine and fresh air. She has a spirited personality and was named Resident of the Month for February in her floor at Pathways. And here she is with a quote from her. God does wonderful things with each one of us, so we each have to be able to do what was needed. It's a gift that everyone will receive if they just ask and are open, and they'll come out the better and happier for it.
In 2007, 9 of the original 10 MMSs sent to Uganda reunited. Sister Joan Marie is seated second from the left, Dara Degnan is standing on the right, and Sister Rose is seated far right. Sister Jane Fell, born in Iowa, served for 50 years in Pakistan, Afghanistan, New Guinea, Ghana, Uganda, as well as North and South Carolina and Philadelphia. As a nurse midwife, she delivered 50 babies her first year before training local women in the art and science of midwifery while educating them in pregnancy and childbirth. She shared a memory of working in Afghanistan where everyone was Muslim. During a diphtheria epidemic, over 200 children came into the hospital, of which 36 had tracheotomies, 6 or 7 at a time. We had only 2 suction machines, so the children were grouped 3 to 4 to a room around a suction machine. I spent the morning teaching nurses how to give tracheotomy care. I spent the afternoon teaching parents how to do the same. Sadly, we lost 1 child, but happily we saved hundreds of others.
Sister Jane said, I overheard one of the parents tell the others that I was a Christian. No, not possible, was the reply. Only a Muslim would give such dedicated care to our children. Well, she is Christian, insisted the speaker. I realized then that I was witnessing to Christianity, to love, without even being aware of it. And the picture on the left shows Sister Jane with a child, and she put a little sticker on the bottom that says, "A child with basket and hoe. Everyone farms in Uganda."
For many years, Sister Jane managed the Medical Mission Sisters thrift shop, the beloved go-to thrift shop for hundreds, perhaps thousands of people, where she enjoyed talking about the healing presence of the Medical Mission Sisters charism. She wrote a book entitled At Home in Many Worlds, a memoir of her life in mission. She still enjoys a good conversation. Through physical therapy, she is working on her mobility. She loved the joyous liturgies during Mass in the MMS chapel and would often spontaneously dance to the closing music of a special feast day. Sister Jane is an avid follower of the news and reads Newsweek magazine cover to cover every week. Sister Jane now lives in Pathways.
Sister Joan Foley was born in Worcester, Massachusetts on September 8, 1931, and grew up in Arlington, Virginia. At age 14, she met a medical mission sister who showed the MMS movie Where Women Conquer, which describes the work of the community. Even at that young age, Joan remembers being impressed by what she perceived as the medical mission sisters as the strong female archetype. When Sister Joan looks back over her life, she is in awe as it unfolded in ways she could have never imagined. The worldwide impact of her life's work ripples beyond borders and is immeasurable. And here she is pictured in Rawalpindi, Pakistan.
Sister Joan sees herself as having primarily been a community organizer everywhere she went. Those places include Pakistan, where she developed a program for training lab technicians, then to North Carolina, where she established a healthcare center for Black citizens living in poverty, which continues to this day, to Florida, where she and her dear friend, Sister Marie Schmids, established a job developmental program. Everywhere Sister Joan worked, her mission was to empower the local people to develop the skills inside them to respond to the needs of the surrounding community. It is not an exaggeration to say that many thousands of people in her 60-plus years of work live better and more healthy, vibrant, and economically just lives because Sister Joan Foley came into their community exactly when they needed her the most.
And pictured here is Sister Joan being honored when she retired from working at the Medical Mission Sisters thrift shop, where she was a loyal volunteer. Sister Joan Foley, pictured here at a hootenanny over on campus, now lives in Pathways. She sees her mission as staying present and creating good karma, especially when things do not go as you might wish. People are drawn to her because if there is humor to be found in a situation, she will find it. In January of 2021, Joan was awarded Resident of the Month for her floor in Pathways. She thought that was hilarious that she would receive such an award. Now, Sister Joan Foley and Sister Joan Marie Dowd are great friends and live in proximity to one another. And we are a little suspicious because they both received Resident of the Month award. And Tom and I are thinking of launching an investigation, the possibility that that election may have been rigged. Stay tuned.
Sister Joan Coughlin, born in New Jersey, remembers playing nurse as a child. She grew up to join MMS, earned her RN, and studied public health and midwifery at the Catholic Maternity Institute in Santa Fe. She later earned her BSN. In Ghana, she served as a nurse midwife, director of nursing services, midwifery tutor, and director of nurses training. She also served in Nigeria and Ethiopia as a nurse and administrator, as well as leadership positions within MMS. When she returned to the U.S., she settled in St. Louis, working as a home health nurse and in training health workers, ministering especially to families and pregnant women. Sister Joan moved to Philadelphia and enjoyed tutoring immigrants studying to become U.S. citizens before she retired. She now lives in chapters here at PPH.
Sister Joan speaks of her experience in Ghana, how neglected these women were, taken for granted, mistreated, and they themselves so grateful and receptive to anything coming kindly from another woman. The people were grateful because we did give professional medicine and we did teach. I loved that about Anna Dangle. Educate, educate, educate was always her message. A missionary is to replace herself. And here she is pictured standing with a woman she tutored to become a U.S. citizen. Oh, is this picture sweet or what? Tom Sexton grew up in Oakland, New Jersey. He was a thoughtful boy, spending quiet hours ice skating alone in the lake behind his house, which he considers to be an early spiritual experience. After high school, Tom enlisted in the Marine Corps, where he served for 2 years stateside, working on infrastructure projects. In 1959, he decided to follow a path to possible ordination to the priesthood through the Camden Diocese. He was sent to St. Jerome's College, a seminary in Kitchener, Ontario, where he studied for 4 years before deciding that priesthood was not his calling. In 1966, Tom was hired as an English teacher and boys cross-country coach at Cheltenham High School, resulting in a 35-year teaching and 50-year coaching career. Those years at Cheltenham have resulted in a loyal following of male friends ranging in age from 21 to 60, whom he mentors with his guidance, encouragement, and good humor. Tom and I were married in 1982. Tom brought 3 children into the marriage and became stepdad to my 2 sons. While one of our beloved children has died, Tom delights in the other 4, our 10 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Tom belongs to a vibrant men's group associated with St. Vincent's Parish in Germantown, where Tom and I belonged for many years. The Medical Mission Sisters found a place in Tom's heart from the first morning mass he attended in Fox Chase in 2010. He sensed in the sisters a profound spirituality along with acceptance and warmth that drew him there. Becoming an associate was a natural step on his deepening spiritual path. When our son Ron died in 2015, Tom vowed that he would provide us with comfort and healing for the rest of our days. He is grateful that we get to live our life together in the quiet yet interesting environment of PPH, where every possible need is met with kindness and compassion.
Sister Sheila McGinnis was born in Troy, New York in 1938. She entered the Medical Mission Sisters at the age of 17, earned her RN, then became a certified midwife at the Medical Mission Sisters School of Midwifery in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She later earned a BSN from Catholic University in Washington, D.C. During the 60s and 70s, At the height of the Vietnam War, Sister Sheila served for 17 years as a midwife at the Medical Mission Sisters Holy Family Hospital in Quy Nhon, South Vietnam. In one 5-year period, the sisters there cared for hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese people, including many refugees. Medical Mission Sisters founded a nursing school, and Sister Sheila trained young Vietnamese women to be nurses and nurses' aides.
Back home in Philadelphia, Sister Sheila worked to resettle Vietnamese refugees and also served in MMS leadership positions. She treated hundreds of people at the Medical Mission Sisters Center for Human Integration, CHI, where she was an instructor, massage therapist, and Reiki practitioner. After CHI closed in 2008, she continued her therapeutic work on an individual basis at her MMS office. Pictured here on the left is Sister Sheila all the way on the right, enjoying a watercolor exhibit with some of the other sisters. And then the photo on the right shows her at work at the Center for Human Integration. In recent years, she created an organic garden on the MMS campus where she oversaw growing corn, tomatoes, lettuce, peppers, and all sorts of summer vegetables. Sister Sheila arrived at PPH in the fall of 2019. She now lives in personal care.
Mary Ann Bolt was born in South Philadelphia and grew up in West Oak Lane. She attended Little Flower High School, received a bachelor's degree from Immaculata University, and a master's degree in marriage and family therapy and pastoral counseling from LaSalle University. She belonged to the Congregation of Immaculate Heart Sisters for 30 years. After teaching for 30 years, Mary Ann began working as a clinical pastoral counselor and a licensed marriage and family therapist. She founded the Center for Families and Relationships for Low-Income Single Parents and Children at Risk. Her organization, known as CFAR, is located on Bustleton Avenue and employs a staff of 70. It offers individual therapy, family therapy, art and play therapy for traumatized children, and groups for a large spectrum of family needs. After 20 years as founder and executive director, Mary Ann stepped down from this position in 2013, but remained at the center working as a supervisor. Mary Ann became an associate with the Medical Mission Sisters because in MMS she found a community where she could participate in prayer, spiritual growth, continuing education, and community service. She says, quote, "In a world where people are becoming more isolated, MMS gifts me with a safe, loving, healing, holy, and happy home." The loss of mobility led Mary Ann to PPH, and she regrets that those limitations keep her from a more active lifestyle. Having moved to PPH just prior to COVID, she is grateful to live here at PPH and longs for the day she can work out in the swimming pool.
Sister Mary Ann Trigoni came to MMS from Michigan. She loves Detroit. Ask her about it. She speaks fondly about her 45 years in her mission work in Africa. She continues to love African people, music, and culture. 42 of those years were in Ghana and 3 were in Kenya. In her words, "I did all kinds of things I never thought I could do. I mostly worked in a hospital teaching nurses." Sister Mary Ann recalls, "One of my favorite memories is a trip to Timbuktu in Mali with some Peace Corps volunteers. It took 2 to 3 days to get there. On the bus, there were live chickens and a merchant carrying items in a pot on her head. We got about halfway there on the bus before the guide said that we would have to go the rest of the way on a camel. What a memory, going across the desert on a camel, mounted on a saddle that was a wooden plank. On the trip home, the guide said he was in a hurry and made the camel run. I can still feel the bumpy ride on the wooden saddle and passing under a tree that was covered with thistles. When I got home, it took a full 24 hours to recover. I could barely walk from the wooden saddle, and my face was covered with thistle scratches. Then Sister Marianne paused and laughed and said, "Be sure to tell them that Timbuktu is a beautiful and interesting city." When several years ago, she was asked what advice she would offer to new sisters or associates, Sister Marianne replied, "Stay open to the Spirit and dare to do what comes before you." Sister Marianne loves to read the Philadelphia Inquirer. She also knits mittens by the dozens for unhoused people in Philadelphia. In her personal care environment, Sister Marianne is ever present to the other residents, assisting them in any way they need. She is a living embodiment of healing presence. The picture at the top shows Sister Marianne. She is second from the left at Mass in the chapel in Fox Chase. Sister Jane Coyle in the pink is seated on the right.
Next is Associate Marguerite Sexton, whom I'm proud to say is also my wife. Marge was born in Abington in 1943, the fourth of 5 children. Steeped in progressive politics from infancy, Marge says that she was born white, Catholic, and a Democrat. She eventually served for 25 years as a Democratic ward leader in Abington. Marge and I were married in 1982 and blended a family of 4 sons and 1 daughter. We have 10 grandchildren and 2 great-grandchildren. Marge and I are very grateful that we met and fell in love over 40 years ago, and we feel even more blessed that our love still sustains us in these our later years. On the left is Marge pictured as a 4-year-old activist, and on the right is Marge embracing a tree in Cape Town, South Africa, one of our favorite countries we ever visited. These 2 pictures show Marge as an officiant. The picture on the right is a picture, one of the first same-sex couples marriages in the United States. And the picture at the bottom left is Marge officiating at a wedding in the Indian tradition. That's a great picture of Marge waving from our balcony here at the Philadelphia Protestant home. Marge and I are both longtime feminists, and we attended Holy Thursday protest vigils with the Catholic Women's Ordination Conference at the Cathedral in Philadelphia for many years. We took a 10-year hiatus from the church, eventually, however, finding our way to the Medical Mission Sisters, drawn to the charism of hospitality, justice, equality, and healing presence.
On Christmas morning, 2015, while we were in chapel for Mass at MMS, our son Ron died by suicide. At the end of that unimaginable day, we fled back to the chapel for solace. The sisters, upon learning we were there, quietly slipped in, surrounding us in pure, tender, holy love. Through them, I received the grace to survive that first night and the days and years to follow. We can never repay them for all they have given us.
Marge founded and facilitates a support group for grieving mothers called Moms rising together. In the spirit of the Medical Mission Sisters, Marge hopes to spend the rest of her life working to create a socially just, inclusive, healing community here at PPH. Marge creates fun and laughter in her life every day. She loves our third floor Lawndale neighbors and cannot imagine ever having known them.
And now we meet some past Medical Mission Sisters residents from PPH who are now deceased. On the top left, Sister Catherine Mary Harmer. On the right is Sister Ellen Hummel in the wheelchair, and on the left, Sister Kay Heidkamp. On the left, Sister Clarita Hackman. In the center, Sister Pat Patton. On the right, Sister Gertrude Provost, who made a cameo appearance a little earlier because I was so attached to her.
And now for two reflections. Sister Jane Coyle reflected on her early teaching with Mother Dengel, who would tell the classes that they were pioneers. She says, "We were pioneering, but we did not realize it at the time. I don't think we realize we're also pioneering right now with regard to aging. I wish we were more conscious of all the things that we're doing piecemeal, but that is how it is when you pioneer." And a quote from Sister Jeanette McDermott: "It's all a journey of love, really, of all things."
May the blessing of God go before you. May her grace and peace abound. May her spirit live within. May her love wrap you round. May her blessing remain with you always. May you walk on holy ground. May goodness flow from the work of your hands, by the God of your mother who will help you, by God Shaddai, who will bless you with blessings of heaven, blessings of the deep, blessings of the breasts and of the womb. For the blessings of God are mighty beyond the blessings of the eternal mountains and the bounties of the everlasting hills. Blessed be God forever.
We will close now with a song called Sing Me a Blessing. And this is something that we can all participate in wherever we are, wherever you are in your room or your apartment or here in the social hall. We can sing out, because in this, we bless one another, we bless everybody in all of PPH. It's easy to follow.
Sing, we sing of a blessing. 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 A blessing of love. A blessing of love. A blessing of mercy. A blessing of mercy. Love will increase. Love will increase. A blessing of peace. A blessing of peace. Pray now, pray for a blessing. 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 A blessing of joy. A blessing of joy. A blessing of justice. A blessing of justice. Love will increase. Love will increase. A blessing of peace. A blessing of peace. Share now, share in a blessing. 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 A blessing of hope. A blessing of hope. A blessing of courage. A blessing of courage. Love will increase. Love will increase. A blessing of peace. A blessing of peace. Live, live, live as a blessing. 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 A blessing within. A blessing within. A blessing among us. A blessing among us. Love will increase. Love will increase. A blessing of peace. A blessing of peace. Send forth the blessing. Send forth the blessing. Send forth the blessing. Send forth the blessing. A blessing to all. A blessing to all. Now and forever. Now and forever. Love will release. Love will release. A blessing of peace. A blessing of peace. Love will release. Love will release. A blessing of peace. A blessing of peace.
That concludes our presentation. Thank you all. It was a joy for us to be here to do this for MMS and for PPH, and thanks to all of you who are here with us. Thank you.